Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. I hope you're well when and wherever you are. I am Shaggy. I am Philalitea. I have been awake since before the dawn, since learning that it is in fact the dawn that is my personal goddess. It has been very easy for me to fall asleep, to not be terrorized by my dreams, and to wake up ready to engage the day before the dawn. And so, again, today I'm awake before the dawn. It is 7:16 my time right now. The dawn is rising, and as I was lying here thinking and meditating in silence, writing even a little bit, I had a thought, and I was doing like I do, and I was circling through to see how I could do better, whether I want to do better, what I could revisit, whether I want to revisit it, how I could revisit it if I kind of think that maybe revisiting it might not be a bad idea for me, creatively or intellectually. And so I was thinking about the evil eye. Because silly women want the evil eye to not be a curse. They desperately want it to not be a curse. Because they want to be able to wear witchy shit in public without actually doing harm to the people around them. Because the only stories they ever hear, and that you ever hear in the milieu about witchy women, is that they either intentionally or inadvertently cause harm to the people around them. And so witchy women are a problem in their own right because they're feckless and they won't bind to a system. But the women who want the evil eye symbology, they want the symbols, right, to be not evil and to be protective, is because it's a fad jewelry that they can wear out and look different than other girls. It's a sexual selective identity icon for lesbian sex, and it's not my place to talk about it. But I just read this book, The Witch, again, and I would have to read it for a third time, specifically teasing out evil eye information to memorize it and have it up here. That's why I only did 16 seconds just going, okay, yeah, no, that's not true. And then I only did 3 minutes going, yeah, it's not true, because, I mean, just think about the obvious here, guys. But if I were to talk about it deeper than the obvious, what I would explain to you is that you are entirely misunderstanding evil eye symbols and magic, and just you are misunderstanding the way that magic works, because you are complicating and you are confusing meaning binding two things that have no business being together. You are confusing ritual and mystical magic. You're confusing ritual and ceremonial magic with mystical magic, and you're confusing all of that with pantheism. These are all wildly different things. Wicca is fucking nonsense. It was made up by some dickhead who liked to fuck teenage girls. Who gives a fuck what that guy thinks about magic? He got what he wanted. And to hell with him. Literally. Let him be damned for it. And to hell, the lady goddess, the night witch of the wild hunt and the evil eye. And so what you need to understand is that the evil eye very specifically is one thing. If it's one thing, if it's a tradition or a symbol that's worldwide, right? Like these people want to claim. Like this teenage girl that I was just going, yeah, okay, I'm not saying this about her, but no, it's not that. Stop. It was only 16 seconds because she's a teenage girl and I'm a 37-year-old man. And what I never want to do is shit on anyone's dreams unless those dreams are to hurt people. And then I want to shit directly into your mouth. All right? Not as a sex thing. Kind of, I want you to choke on it and maybe die. I'm allowed to say these things because I'm taking artistic license to say these things because I'm being subjective in the use of my language. You can't know whether I mean that or not. And if a police officer were to ask me, I would say, no, I don't actually mean it. And that's where I'm going to be talking about Eminem. And that's going to be like, what? Why you don't like hip hop? I fucking loathe hip hop. But we're going to talk about Eminem and why The Real Slim Shady is maybe the most important song of the first decade, the 5 years before and after 2001. Okay. But the only way I'm going to get there is we have to talk about curses and anti-curses. All right. And so if the evil eye is one thing and it's worldwide and it's cultural, have you ever heard that idiom? Ooh, if looks could kill, that's the evil eye. It's the belief that somebody looks at you with such revulsion, hatred, animosity. Animosity is the right word, because animosity is an emotion such a negative emotion that it literally animates it. It animos. It brings it to life. It brings that feeling, that thought that's in your head to life. That's a curse. All right. And if you speak it out loud, it has more power. But if you feel it intensely and longly and habitually enough that you've heard of this, you've heard of tulpa shit. That's animosity. It's somebody that has so much animosity for you that you feel like, wow, I can feel their hatred. and then you start to think like, ooh, like, do I need to be careful at night? And you got to remember, like, before houses were like the houses we have today, like, you got to remember before 2001, people just walk in your house and kill you. People still just walk in your house and kill you. There was a guy in Columbus that was doing that. Walking into people's houses and killing them while I lived there. Or, I mean, it's just a real thing. You just test the door. You get a little drunk and you just test the door and you walk in, you kill a guy, you walk out, nobody fucking knows you did it. And that's why we have the doorbell with the fucking cameras on. That's why everything has a fucking camera on it. That's why I walk everywhere with a camera. And people just assume I'm doing it so that if anybody fucks with me, I have an insurance claim. And that's part of it. That's part of it. When I cross these streets, these motherfuckers want to act completely retarded. And I mean that. Completely. They go completely mentally retarded, like they've never been behind a wheel before. Like, and that's what they want to do. They want to play completely inexperienced. And not just inexperienced, under-intelligent, because that's what they're going to do when the cops get there. They're going to go blah, 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 and they're going to become completely nonverbal. And I don't even mean to be funny. I'm not being funny, and I'm definitely not denigrating on the mentally and the physically retarded. I see them all the time where I go to eat and at the library, and I would never make fun of or they're not behind a wheel and people aren't imitating them to get out of trouble. The people who are imitating them to get out of trouble need to be denigrated. And they need to be called what they're being. Mentally retarded. You're acting retarded. And we need to get back to calling people out for it. Because not calling people out for acting stupid, for acting imbecilic, for acting moronic, for acting dumb to get out of trouble has caused everyone to act stupid at all times. You just pretend like you don't know anything. And you don't know how to do your job. It's like, I've been going into this Panera for 4 months. Since the last week of October. I've been going in here. And it was last week that they started greeting me when I walked in, smiling while they talked to me, and acting like they knew what I was going to get. 4 months. And that only happened because I bitch about that store online all the time, and they get negative reviews all the time, and it's starting to crunch down on management. I can tell it's starting to crunch down on management because they avoid me. They avoid me because I know the job. And really, by now, someone in there should have offered me a job. One of those managers should have been like, do you want a gig? Do you want to come like do dishes? Like, we always need somebody that can do dishes. I'll pay you a sandwich. Because the dishes sit in that bin for the entire time that store is open. They just sit there until close, which is unacceptable. It's gross, and they start to stink. I'm not the only person that notices. This is a middle-class establishment. If I, homeless person, notices and kind of cares, like that my table is always dirty when I walk in there, and it's always dirty with the crumbs that I left the night before. It's like nobody's wiping these tables at night. That's something that other people notice because other people get in there at open. That place has always got people in it. I'm not the only person they're not doing a good job serving. And this is the point. This is why we have customer service, is because people will start to get angry, but they'll still go, but they'll be animos, right? They'll have animosity for the people working behind the counters, and they'll take it out on those kids, and then those kids will take it out on people like me who know what they're supposed to be doing and how they're supposed to behave in an establishment like this by doing a bad job, right? This is curse and counter curse. Curse, counter curse, curse, counter curse, curse, counter curse. And so long as none of it is vocalized, you can't do anything about it. This is what the witch literature teaches us, is that writing this shit down made it really effective to snuff witches out. It makes snuffing feminism out really easy. How do I know that? How do I know it's actually really easy to snuff the candle flame of feminism out without burning yourself? Because Roe v. Wade was the easiest thing to overturn in the history of legislation. Look how easy. They just went, oh yeah, and then where's the pushback? Where's the new literature or new legislation? Where's even the new literature? Where's the cultural comment? No, it's just it's that easy. It's that badly thought out. And it always has been. I swear to God, Christine de Pizan is the only woman who ever thought anything out. On paper, I mean. I'm using my hand warmer as both battery and light, and so the cord is between, and I keep it folded up, and so it's just all a mess, and it's casting a shadow on my face. And so anyway, we are talking about how distractible I am. That light shining directly in my face is highly annoying. I know how creatives like other YouTubers, podcasters, whatever. I almost opened this. I started a recorder called Open to This, where I said, this isn't your dad's shitty podcast. This is my shitty podcast. Can you hear that? It's either a deer or a cop. Okay, so much for curses, right? Now, curses can work at a lot of levels of abstraction, but the lowest level of abstraction that we can talk about without also involving the supernatural, or just talking about emotions, is profanity. Okay? And if you want to talk about profanity as a countercultural revolution, there we go, we can do it like campfire style. What I was saying earlier is, I know how other people get used to it is they get paid to get used to it, and so they just adapt. But I'm not being paid, and so it's highly distracting, and I'm very photosensitive anyway. But if you want to talk about profanity, cursing, right, using curse language as a cultural revolution, not just a countercultural revolution, but a cultural revolution. I was alive in the 90s when the literature was being written, published, and promoted on daytime television, when I used to skip school to watch daytime television like Ricky Lake, etc., because I wanted to know what the adults were like and what they cared about, because school was boring as fuck to me and I was getting straight A's, so I could skip, frankly, as far as I was concerned. And I did. Whether I could or I couldn't, I did. And so deal with it. But I was watching the daytime television when the literature about profanity was being written. When the literature about the profusion, the promulgation, the propulsion of the use of profanity among young white kids because they saw black actors on TV and movies like Samuel L. Jackson looking cool as shit, saying words like motherfucker when they had no business being. I watched a whole documentary. I could not name it. I don't remember. But I watched a whole documentary about how Richard Pryor ruined white kids. I'm not joking. I'm really not joking, because in the 90s we were allowed to talk about this and it wasn't racism, because black culture has been a thing since the 70s. They insisted that they were a separate America in the 1970s. And by the 90s, most of white America had just conceded with that. That's why you started seeing Kwanzaa specials on TV, even though who knows a black person who actually celebrates Kwanzaa except ironically. I'm not being racist. I grew up among black kids. Black kids, like, hell, Crackhead C is a black dude. The black dudes at Christ's table all come and sit at my table. They all fist bump me. They're all cool with me. I've been poor. You can't be poor and racist and not get the shit kicked out of you constantly. And I've just never had the shit kicked out of me. Let's just put it that way. They used to shoot BB guns at my dad. They used to drive by BB gun our house and my dad when he was outside because he was a card-carrying N-bomb dropper. And I've just never been about it. That doesn't mean that I love everything about their culture, and it most certainly doesn't mean I was allowed to listen to their music, and it doesn't mean I love their music or their movies for that matter. Like I kind of feel like Tyler Perry is why they're like, I loved Chocolate News. Like I love what's his name? I'll never remember his name right now, but I liked Chocolate News a lot. I think that's what it was called. With David Allen Greer, and they did a bit about how young black men were growing up to be young black women because all of their black heroic actors played women on movies and television, and that Tyler Perry was a real bane. And then look where the trans community is really, really endemic. It's among young black boys who just don't know any males, but definitely want to be engaged sexually. Or don't know any, well, you know what I'm trying to say, I think. And so my point is, all of this was happening in the 90s when I was a kid, and I was glued to the TV watching it as a child, as a small child, first grade. I'm not joking. I used to skip school in first grade because I was bored. I was getting straight A's. So whatever, I'd stay home, watch TV. Well, I'd literally watch Ricky Lake and Jerry Springer and all of this stuff because I thought it was conversation points. I thought I was going to be water coolering with the kids at school, but fuck no, I was way too me for that, even in first grade. I was very much this person in first grade. Okay, so cursing, using profanity, then was a real fight. It was a real conversation in our culture. It was a big deal. Like, my language use, my dad cringes. And my dad was in the Army. My dad's an engineer. If we and I were speaking together, he would have no problem with the way that I use profanities. But in text, you can really tell that that you're not supposed to write like that because the written language, when you write a curse, has more weight among a certain kind of superstitious person. And my dad's he was born in '69. He's allowed to be a certain kind of superstitious person, especially where he grew up. He grew up in the woods writing. My dad thought he was in a Louis L'Amour novel until he graduated high school and joined the Army and realized, oh, this is not glamorous at all. This isn't what I thought at all. My dad used to ride a horse on his property in the woods with a rifle, hunting rabbits and shit, and then eating the rabbits and shit. Like, he used to camp out on the land and stuff like that. My dad lived a very different lifestyle than what you did. Very different. I mean, he grew up very different than you did. So his relationship with God and with nature is very different than yours if you grew up surrounded by stone and plaster. You understand what I'm saying? Metal, even, if you grew up in skyscrapers. And so the reason that profanity was such a fight was because it was curses. Profanity began at a place of cursing. So, like, the worst thing you could call somebody in the American up until basically the 90s, up until like basically up until black people got on TV, the worst thing you could call somebody, well, Irish people got on TV, because it was Irish are very, you know this, you know the stereotypes. I don't have to explain this to you, but I'm being very, very serious. It was very recently. The worst thing you could call somebody was either a bitch or a son of a bitch, because that used to be enough to have a second show up at your house telling you that you needed to come defend your life. Because it used to be that serious. Cursing your language, the use of your language, it got that serious. That regular people, regular dudes in my station were dropping one another dead in duels over their language use, specifically curses. Because whether you believe it's supernatural or not, there's an effect there. And so when somebody says something to you and it becomes a thought, it makes me think of that Creed song, What If? I love that song, where he says what controls your thought, or what consumes your thoughts controls your life. And so when somebody calls you a son of a bitch and you don't do anything about it, but you're like, he called me a son of a bitch. He called my mother a bitch. He called me a son of a bitch. And then you start to, and it controls your life. And now he controls your life. And that's a curse. And whether you believe that's supernatural or not does not matter. Doesn't matter. It's a psychological hook that guy has over your life now. He controls your life in some way. And the only way to get it back, it used to be, was to kill that fucking guy. Now you just treat him like a woman, and you assassinate his character on Twitter like a fucking woman. But whatever. The dudes used to kill one another over, you say anything to my girl, and you'll hear from my second tomorrow. Because you're not controlling my life. I'm not gonna be upset about that. You don't know how many girls I had in high school that wanted that shit. Wanted to hang out with gay dudes. And they wanted to talk shit about me to their girls. And then they'd talk shit about me to my girl. And then my girl would come to me like, oh, this gay guy was going blah, 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 blah. Because, yeah, I didn't participate in any of that shit. I didn't. I would get mad in the moment, and then I'd realize what was going on, and no, this is stupid. And so now we're going to transition to why I want to talk about Eminem in this context. Because I want you to have forgotten that we were going to talk about the real Slim Shady, or I want you to have been on the edge of your seat like a good Shaggy Dog story about why are we talking about real Slim Shady in the context of magical curses and the evil eye. And the reason is that that Eminem, white guy, hyper-talented rapper, becoming as popular as he is in the white teenage economy of music was a big deal, was because Tipper Gore and other white liberal politicians had been trying for actual decades, since at least the 80s, to keep black music, specifically hip-hop and R&B, from becoming mainstream among white kids. That's why disco died. That's why jazz is relegated to the damn, what's that fucking place, New Orleans. This is real and documented. Elvis's career was about whitewashing the best black music so that white kids had access to it without also accessing the black artists. This is very real. The money needed to not go to black artists so bad. And now it's all going to Eminem. This became a real problem. So they fed him pills and they discredited him and destroyed his music. I'm not joking. This happened. Ask him. This happened. All of this happened. The last 30, 50, 100, last year, it all happened. Okay? Just because I can put it into a context and talk about it is important in the context of what I'm about to do for you. Because now I'm about to do for you a dramatic reading and maybe even my own version, I guess, without the tacky parody. But I've done a tacky parody of this song in my journal just because I was feeling funny that day. And everybody my age has done a tacky parody of something Eminem, because everybody my age listened to Eminem, and so for that reason I never really listened that close. But I've gone back as an adult because adults my age are like, oh, but you remember Eminem, we can kind of vibe on that. And I'm like, well, I don't. And they're like, well, you should listen to, for example, The Real Slim Shady. So I go back and listen to it, and there are no, it's not that there are some like good lines, it's not that there are some historically artistically important lines. And remember, Eminem spent a lot of time in courts arguing that he was allowed to have artistic license, that he was allowed to say the things that he said on record and then sell those records out as music. Because you have to remember, hip hop is more spoken word, and once it gets political, it's very, very quickly cult of personality mindfucky. Very quickly. Aqua Teen Hunger Force made jokes about this. They did at least 3 episodes about this with the one rapper who became an absolute shitbag. But I don't. That's unimportant. I'm ready because I have to pee again, and it's almost 8. I try not to spend 12 hours in that Panera, because I'm not trying to gather donations of food from the people who walk into that Panera. I'm trying to ignore the people that walk into that Panera, and sometimes like maybe make eye contact with a pretty girl, because who knows, maybe a pretty girl will come over and be like, hey, do you need a shower? And I'll be like, oh my god, fucking please. Anyway, and that's not even about sex. You don't understand. Not everything, just because I'm a male, doesn't mean everything has to be about sex. This song, The Real Slim Shady, is a big deal because Eminem was getting popular, and he talks about it, and things like Without Me, Feel So Empty Without Me, right? Because he was getting so popular, and because hip-hop was getting so popular, everybody was trying to rap. Everybody had been trying to rap since the moment hip-hop became a thing. White guys had been trying to blend it with different genres. I mean, think about Rage Against the Machine. And so, like, I started thinking about this, like, with this. I initially started thinking about, when I was talking about curses, I started talking about how the reason I feel like I'm allowed to make a 16-second video and not flesh it out is because I can do it. I can actually get on the mic and shit it. And I thought about that, and I was like, oh, it's probably, people would probably more expect from me the Rage Against the Machine line, where he says, either shit or get off the commode, right? Either drop the hits, or either drop in hits like De La Mode or get the fuck off the commode, right? So like, either have something to say or go the fuck away. And so I always have something to say in all of these. All of these are about me having something to say and me being able to do it in 3 minutes, like a song, right? And you could put music behind me and bam, I'm doing hip hop because I'm doing spoken word. And in fact, if you were to put chill vibes behind me and I were to slow down and do my normal thing, you could even say that I'm a modern day, what's that fucking asshole? I don't care about it. Alan Watts, right? And so anyway, I could do the whole Alan Watts thing if I wanted to. Can you feel your butthole right now? Is it clenchy? Do you need to fart? Are you self-conscious about your butthole now that you're thinking about your butthole? Stop thinking about your butthole. Everyone's got one. Steve's probably itches. Stop thinking about Steve's butthole. But we're not going to do that. We're going to talk about why Eminem was so important for free speech. Because I don't think you realized exactly what free speech meant. And the black community very quickly understood what free speech meant. And if they weren't allowed to write, they had to say exactly what the fuck was on their mind. And the intelligent ones knew that they had to use language like mine. And what the studies since Eminem have found is that, in fact, people who reach for profanity when they're trying to quickly get through a thought are actually the most intelligent, because that's the quickest and most effective way to get from point A to point B. And so trying to work around it, our grandparents tell us, well, you're intelligent enough, you could find other words to use, blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, okay, but fuck you is the most effective way to tell you that the way I feel about you is I want to bash your fucking head in with a stick. Because the word fuck does mean, like, to hit, etymologically speaking. It's also the emphasis word. It's the salt and pepper of words, because it's perfect for all emotional contexts. And in fact, if you're in pain and you let out a fuck, or you're angry and you let out fuck, you know what happens? Your brain releases emotion regulating chemicals that allow you to manage the pain, manage the emotion. Yeah, profanity is a big deal. It's very important, and using it properly and contextually when it's important, with the knowledge of how to use the word, is also important. I can remember being in 8th grade and watching my friends practice using profanity and being like, wow, we are fucking cringe, y'all. Because we just weren't getting it right. But because we weren't allowed to do it at all, none of us was contextually correcting one another. And so feminism stepped in and said, all right, you're not allowed to say fag. You're not allowed to say retarded. Stop saying those fucking words. You say them all the fucking time. Stop saying those fucking words. And most of us went, yep, you're right. Those can't replace fuck. I mean, I did it all the time. But I used to do it on purpose because I was trying to encourage the people in my friend group to like fucking behave like the song that's on the radio right now, telling you, well, we're going to talk about the middle finger, and we're going to get back to the evil eye to close up. But I want to do this now, because I might not be as stoned as I was. Maybe I want to get a little bit more stoned. I'm starting to be able to afford that for myself. And if you're not buying it for me, that means I'm allowed to indulge as much as I want. And that's a good feeling. Because you're like, go get a job, go get a job, go get a job. Fuck you. Fuck you. I provide a service, and I do make enough money providing that service to have all of the things that I need. And so that fuck you, pay up or unsub and mute and hide and unrecommend me and just keep it fucking moving, pal. Or pay up. Or do that other thing. Or pay up. Or do the other thing. It's like my last ex-girlfriend. I kept telling her, like, you've got binary options here. You got two choices here. Apologize, don't apologize. And she would just stand there. You can't put me into a binary. That's manipulating. And I'm like, no, that's stating for you your options. As now a third-party observer of this idiot argument that we're in. Well, Will Smith doesn't have to cuss in his raps to sell records. Well, I do. So fuck him and fuck you too. You think I give a damn about a Grammy? No, really. I just watched Metallica lose in whatever it was, 89. After they played that one performance, I watched them lose to Jethro Tull, and Jethro Tull wasn't even there. Jethro Tull thought that little of the nomination, they weren't even there, and that's who they chose? Get fucked, Grammys. You think I give a damn about a Grammy or about a YouTubey or about a what do they call all these fucking awards that podcasters pay to be nominated for? Half of you critics can't even stomach me, let alone stand me. But Shaggy, what if you won? Wouldn't it be weird? Why? So you guys could just lie to get me here so you can sit me next to Britney Spears? Yo, shit, Christina Aguilera better switch me chairs so I can sit next to Carson Daly and Fred Durst and hear them argue over who she gave head to first. Little bitch put me on blast on MTV. Yeah, he's cute, but I think he's married to Kim, hee. I should download our audio on MP3 and show the whole world how you gave Eminem VD. I'm sick of you little girl and boy groups. All you do is annoy me, so I've been sent here to destroy you. And there's a million of us, just like me, who cuss like me, who just don't give a fuck like me, who dress like me, walk, talk, and act like me, and just might be the next best thing, but not quite me. This might be the most important song maybe ever written. But this might be the... I should just fucking do the whole song now. I don't want to steal this man's copyright. I'm trying to do honor and justice to it. But now I want to talk about the evil eye. And I'm going to end on another quotation from this song. And you know this song. Spitting in your onion rings. Anyway, you know this song. And you fucking millennials, you fucking Gen Z assholes who ironically listen to this stuff because you thought it was cool to have it on in your fucking middle class white dorm rooms. You need to know something about how I feel about you. Fuck you. Seriously, fuck you. Fuck you acting surprised when you walk into fast food establishments or middle-class dine-in establishments and the teenagers back there fucking hate your guts. Fuck you. You were never cool. Never once. When you used to come in drunk off your face into my fucking Steak and Shake, you know what I used to do? The absolute worst fucking job for you I possibly could. You know why? Because fuck you. That's why. Seriously. Fuck you, that's why. You were never Slim Shady. Just because your mom and dad had the money to let you dress like fucking Eminem, let you dress like a fucking asshole, dress like you were poor, just because they had the money to spend the incredible amount it takes to look poor. This is like a $60 fucking shirt. Fuck you. Fuck you, hippie head shop bullshit. Fuck all of you. What's that store in the fucking mall? The damn... Fuck all of you. All of you bohemian middle class fuck faces. Fuck all of you for trying to look poor. All of you. Every single one of you in Soho, and what's that fucking that fucking spot that used to be for black people, Brooklyn. Every single middle class person in Brooklyn of any race. Fuck you. Seriously. You're the worst. But you were the worst 2000, 3000. You are why. You are why. The golden age that Marxist anthropologists point back to 7,000 years, 5,000 years before present. 5,000 years BC. You are the fall. I know that because every single, if you want to talk about the evil eye being universal, every single religion holds you responsible for God destroying the world at some point in their history. The middle class. Yeah. Is it universally true? Oh yeah. You better fucking believe it. Oh yeah. Absolutely. None of you does your job. None of you does your job worth a damn. You know how I know this? The first thing Nebuchadnezzar did when he invaded Jerusalem was unemploy everybody in his middle class and replace them with Jewish people. Oh yeah. You're fucking useless. And I always have been. Fucking horrible. What China did to you is they put you under such a strenuous testing system that if you couldn't pass it perfectly, you were kicked the fuck out of the middle class. You're horrible. The middle class is horrible. And that's where the evil eye comes from. It's from middle class people. They're fucking think they're better. And then poor people going, fucking, I'd kill that fucking guy if I got the chance. And then you think about it long enough and you're like, you know what? I'm doing it. That's how people got this in their head. This is why feminine... Man, my nose is so wildly crooked in this light. That's so funny. I broke the fuck out of it as a kid and my dad did not reset it. And it's just really distracting. The cold makes my nose swell up and it's really obvious. That's funny. But the evil eye is a middle finger. The what you think of as the protective symbol of the evil eye is actually giving a finger back to the devil. It's flipping the bird at somebody who's just flipped you the bird. Because what do you do when somebody flips you the bird? What do? You reflexively flip it back, right? Why? Because if you don't, you're thinking about it, and you're thinking about that missed opportunity. Well, what about when you have a terrible retort in an argument, and you're thinking about it later, and you're like, oh man, I didn't retort properly. You've been hexed, you've been cursed, you've been evil-eyed, right? And now you're obsessed with the evil eye. You're not protecting yourself from the evil eye. You are allowing the evil eye into your body, and now you're manifesting the evil eye outward. You're not protecting any fucking thing. The evil eye is called the evil eye because it's evil. It's destructive. Evil is only destructive. Okay? That's what evil means. Evil means bad. Okay? It just means destructive. Okay? And the devil is the evil, the of evil. Okay? Etymologically, I'm not joking. I'm laughing. Very rarely joking. I will probably tell you every single time I'm joking. Man, the pompadour is really fucking killing it today. You don't understand. None of you looks this good. None of you looks this good. I'm fucking homeless. Step your shit up, middle class. Step your shit up. I wake up looking this fucking good. Step your shit up. Assholes. Every one of you. And then you pull I'm overworked and undersleeping and undernourished. Okay, then why are you 70 pounds overweight? Fuck off. I'm only giving you things you joke about with your friends inside your living room. The only difference is I got the balls and say it in front of y'all, and I don't gotta be false or sugar-coated at all. I just get on the mic and spit it, and whether you like to admit it, I just shit it better than 90% of you rappers out can. Then you wonder, how can kids eat up these albums like Valiums? That's why you fucking hate me. That's why you only climb into my comments to give me negative, mean bullshit. It's because someday I'm going to blow up. And you know you're going to have missed the train because you didn't fucking get it. And I'm okay with that. Because I'm not doing this in defiance of anyone. I realized that. I came back to my tent last night and I asked myself, how much of my spending time at that Panera is about defying them to kick me out? I pay them $4 a month. I've been paying them $4 a month. It's going to jump up to $15 a month next month. I paid my dues. I paid my dues to society. That's the thing. I spent 20 years in service. I spent way longer than this any of the industries that I worked in deserved my service. Underpaid on purpose because I was paying my dues. I was serving my communities because I have lived in many communities as an adult. And those communities did not serve me. They didn't make an effort to serve me. They knew that I was making an effort to serve them, and they did everything they could to take advantage of that service in rudeness and being impolite because they knew they could get away with it. This is why you got so fucking triggered when I started talking about forgiveness. Is because you know that there are crimes you have committed against people for which you are damned, because you can never ask them forgiveness, and you will never ask their forgiveness. You are incapable of it, either by chance or happenstance, or because you're just incapable. You lack the ability. You cannot. You're just not a good enough person. It's embarrassing to admit. And so you say, well, forgiveness can mean an infinitude of things that get me off the hook. Okay. It's fine. But you understand that I'm here to speak the truth. And I'm not here to be lied to. Not by you and not by anybody. And so I just get on the mic and I shit it. And if it's good, it's good. And if it's bad, it's bad. But you know, that's why fuck you, millennials. That's why fuck you. That's why fuck you, Gen Z. Gen X. Gen Z. Fuck both directions. These poor kids. These poor teenagers and young adolescents now are so fucked. And you're just not helping. You're just fucking not helping. And fuck people like Flimlo Reps for thinking that they're the first person to think, oh, I should take inspiration from the people around me and then give it back to the world. It's like, how the fuck did you watch 8 Mile and not realize that you could be somebody too. And how did you not, look, improv comedy is at an all-time high among my generation. So how the fuck can you guys not yes and everything? I don't understand. You compartmentalize everything to the point that I swear to God, it's so you can make everything a personal revelation so you can have something to fucking talk about. Because you'll have the same personal revelation over and over and over again because you're on a TV cycle. That's what I've noticed about sports talk. Whether I've noticed it novelly for the first time this time, or whether I noticed that I myself repeating something that I've thought before in an effort to try to articulate it, is that like sports talk on TV can't have a meta conversation. It can't have a meta narrative that's you understand that a meta narrative is any two or more narratives that are connected together atemporally, right? So like Lord of the Rings or how would it go? It would go, the Lord of the Rings trilogy are not a meta narrative. They're a single narrative. But The Hobbit is in meta narrative, and the Silmarillion is in meta narrative with the Lord of the Rings. But so is Dune. See? It's fucking annoying to me that you don't connect the meta narratives of your life together in the temporal stream of your fucking life. It makes me absolutely and fucking sane that you'll watch. I see you reference 8 Mile now. Is it 9 Mile? 8 Mile? Whatever, that fucking Eminem movie. I didn't watch it. I didn't care. Because I didn't watch it because I knew none of you was going to incorporate it into your life. And you know how many incorporated into your fucking life? Fucking none of you. But you all quote that damn song. I had an ex-girlfriend who was all the time fucking, you got one shot, you got to take it, you got one shot. She was just always with the fucking mom spaghetti, just referencing that all the fucking time. And it's because it got a reaction, because other people recognized it, not because she was ever willing to put herself in a position to be that fucking nervous and also overcome Don Cheadle. Was that really Don Cheadle? That's hilarious. It's like, I feel like the irony there is so on the nose. Like, Don Cheadle is the token black guy of every cinematic universe that he's in, which is racism. And so he's the nod, he's the character who's being bullied. He's the Meg in every movie he's in. And Eminem, that movie made it so on the nose that if you can't beat the token character, the character who's only there because they have to be there because someone has to lose, you're not even a token character. And so think about that. Because I know how big a deal like pachinko games are to you fucking assholes. I know how big a deal it is for you idiots to collect tokens. So why not be somebody worth collecting? Like, the thing I don't think you understand is that the only person who's comfortable with an insane person's insanity is the insane person. But you only come to that conclusion when you're mad. You only go, oh, I'm comfortable. But you know this. I am certain you've seen that movie, The Lighthouse. because it was too good and too popular there for a short minute not to have. And if you haven't, go watch it. Because it ends with him realizing, oh, madness. Okay, he's just insane. He was just crazy. But now I am. And that's fine, too. I've been watching Subnautica. I've been watching Neebs' supercut of Let's Play of Subnautica. And if you haven't watched that, but you do like Subnautica, or have played Subnautica all the way to the end, you know the ending of that game. Neebs and Apsro are actually in the official ending of the game because of their Let's Play. Their Let's Play is so good. They do a cinematic Let's Play. But Apsro depicts the slow descent into madness. Well, when you spend enough time by yourself, and I've been telling you about this for a year, since I read the book. William James wrote about this in 1909, or published it in like 1909. And the Varieties of Religious Experience opens by explaining that the religious experience and the insanity diagnosis are exactly the same. And they come from prolonged and intense suffering in isolation. So it means you have to be isolated from a community of other human beings and suffering from something probably entirely separate from that. So you have to have a cluster. You have to have a cluster of psychic failures happening, psychic assaults happening to you. Well, in modern literature, that's called complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I have complexes of complex PTSD. I'm not joking. That's why I do this. And ironically, it's why I do that too. But that's how I could talk for 52 minutes on a Sunday morning about why profanity is important, but why only certain people should be doing it. Only certain people should be allowed to do it. Only certain people do it properly. And the people who should be allowed to do it, the people who should be doing it, the people that can do it, are the people who know to apologize for having done it. I was on the bus several months ago now, 2 or 3, maybe 4 months ago, early in my time in homelessness. And a woman was asking me about God. And I said something to the degree of, he's fucking awesome. And then I said, oh, I'm so sorry, because I was on a bus full of people. A half bus, but a bus full of people. Yeah, it's a short bus full of people. And I said, I'm so sorry. And the woman in front of me, not the woman to my left that I was talking to, but the woman in front of me goes, oh, honey, when the Spirit comes over you, the Spirit chooses the words, and the Spirit has a foul mouth. The Spirit has a foul mouth. That's how they used to be able to tell the difference between prophets and charlatans. Charlatans were too polite. Charlatans made their message palpable to the upper middle class while criticizing the upper middle class and the nobility. And the fool used to be a sacred position. Eminem, the bard, the musician, is a sacred position. The lyricist is a sacred position within society, not just within a band, but within a band. I got into so many arguments over this in high school with musicians that I basically gave up on being in music. until well, that's not right. That's not true at all. In fact, that's just an easy way to get out of the story. And that's why I shag a dog, because it's easier to tell truths. It's easier to not say something that's untrue if you just kind of, and then you can say, this is what's actually true. Because labyrinthine. Labyrinthine is the way. All right? The evil eye tradition that these people want to say is worldwide is not worldwide. It's Indo-European. And the evil eye curse, spitting or making the sign of the cross or these symbols, are about forgiveness. They're counter spells, counter magic. Counter curses. And one of the reasons I don't argue with these women, and for instance why I've dated many Wiccans and why I'm sympathetic with them, is because their core claim that we don't have counter magic against the very real supernatural is true. It is true. Scientific skepticism and the materialist worldview has robbed you of any defense, natural defenses and natural social defenses that you should have as a human being existing 10,000 years after these things were figured out and systematized. Closer to 12,000 years, actually. You should have. And I should be going to church today. I'm not going to. I might. I have time. I should. Because that's the best you've got. But the Catholic Church and the Protestant churches that aren't Mormon or Mormon denominational are lost up their own ass over a fight that's as old as Peter. And the Catholic response to counter magic was to say, magic isn't real, it's superstitious, ignore the devil, and the devil has no power over you. The Catholic response to the supernatural is the Japanese ghost story. Just don't look at it. But that is a learned response from almost 1,000 years of written scientific attempts to understand the supernatural. I'm still reading that book. So as always, this is a work in progress. All of this is a work in progress. I don't know how you get on YouTube and think that any of us creators is a work in progress. In fact, it would make more sense for you to think of donations to me as being like the candies that you give to your Pokemon and Pokemon Go to help me evolve into my final form than anything else anything you are thinking. Because that's how this really works. On some level, I'm a Pokemon trainer. You are all really the Pokemon. But in order for you to see what human evolution looks like, this is an argument that's old in my life. In order for you to see what human progress and human evolution looks like, you have to see it. In order for you to know, you have to see it. In order for you to see it, you have to see it. Someone has to be doing it where you can see it. Well, here I am. a fool, and a shaggy dog storyteller, and a homeless person telling you that you could be so much better as a home full person if you just made an effort. If you just listened to the music that you listened to and implemented it into your life. And you would be happier with yourself if you remembered the poor at every level of your life. I'm Shaggy. I am Philalitea. And I hope that you have a good day, a good evening, a good afternoon, a good night, wherever, whenever you are. Welcome to the Meta Conversation. I'll see you in the comments.